the game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Don't step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Game now, me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way, you wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Don't step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way, yeah, yeah. Out of the way, yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
Live from virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway, we welcome race fans one and all to Hampton, Georgia, where we get set to go racing for another installment of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series for the save 10% at VelocityUSA.com 200 on RaceSpotTV. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is Red Bull. Tonight with Terry Radford beside me in the broadcast booth, and one Andrew Freenosh going to be playing host as our driver analyst for tonight's race. Dylan Coyle set to join us for tonight, having a bit of technical problems behind the scenes. Hopefully, we'll be seeing him joining us in for the show later on tonight. But for now, Terry, we get set to go to a newly repaved Atlanta Motor Speedway. What a race we had here just one season ago, and it's bound to be just as much of a barn burner here tonight.
Well, that's not exactly how we thought we were going to start the show. I spelled it out in Discord to mimic our father figure, Evan Pasoko, who for some reason missed it again tonight. But repackaged, right? Repackaged Atlanta. If anybody watched the PRL last night, they put on an absolute whale of a show. I kind of look forward to see what these drivers do in RSR. I think we're going to have a surprise winner here tonight. We got last week's winner up here in the booth, so we can't go back to back. Wouldn't expect to see our normal names potentially win this race. I don't remember who I said was going to win last week. I think I might have said Thomas George. I got a crappy memory, but if Thomas George wins this race, son, we're throwing a party with some beer tonight.
It is a racetrack that is going to be by far a huge game changer here tonight. It is
well, we look at the schedule here that I think Nolan's talking, but nothing's coming through. We're obviously past Phoenix, March 13th. We have Atlanta until we get all the way down till we get to the playoffs at Daytona. It's a long and windy road to get us here as we don't touch a road course next week because, well, we're off.
And like you said, off next week set to wrap it up here for the month of March before he gets set to swing on down for some good old short track racing over at the Richmond Raceway. We look down to the championship order where Esteban Rodriguez and Agnel Phillip have obviously taken race wins. They find themselves locked in, getting set to enter the season here tonight. But you take a look at the Atlanta Motor Speedway and what a racetrack it is. It is effectively, as I was mentioning before, a plate track, as it much like the Daytona and Talladega Super Speedways. It's going to be a fun race with these guys here tonight, one that's bound to see a whole lot of flat-out pack racing here tonight. So this is going to be, by far, one of the most entertaining shows we could possibly have for us here tonight. Qualifying currently underway from the VelocityUSA.com 200, and here we go. The proper updated point standings for Phillip has taken 2 wins on the season. Rodriguez and Freenosh also lining up. They are both locked in. Now, interestingly enough, for Andrew Freenosh, he finds himself as our driver analyst, so standing by tonight, and why not? You got yourself locked in with that one race win already. So, Andrew, I think you'll be the best driver to talk to anybody having raced with these guys all season long for many seasons past. Who do you think are some names that we should look out for here tonight?
Yeah, and good evening, everybody. This track is just the way they repaved it, it's anybody's race. This is plate racing on steroids. Tire wear comes into play. You're going to see these guys get tight, get loose. They're going to be going 3 wide, and this track is a lot narrower than you would think. You can fit 3 cars, but on that extreme outside, it's very easy to push into the wall. Anybody and everybody can win this race. As qualifying goes here, we're looking at Brandon Fetter place on track. It's pretty flat out here in qualifying. You're just going to floor it and try to keep that wheel as straight as you can. And lap 2 is definitely the faster one as you're seeing him wind that car up, getting ready for that. So qualifying going to be important, but staying out of trouble is going to be the key tonight. And making it to that finish is the main point there, so you can see if you can pick up the W tonight.
I think the other big important thing to note is going to be the fact that that red and white line that we see down on the inside line, that is a big talking point entering tonight's race. Drivers are not allowed to dip their tires under that line. It is very much like the yellow line rule seen in super speedways. It is in place here tonight. That being said, qualifying seems to be a very different story as drivers are using every last scrap of asphalt that they possibly can to try to get themselves sorted with a good qualifying position here tonight. And I have a feeling we're going to be in for an exciting show and potentially one that could see a few incidents, especially right around that quad oval. Then, of course, you get pit stops. Pit stops are obviously going to be a huge thing to contend with as these drivers will be looking to struggle with getting down to pit road. I've been taking a look at a lot of other drivers in different leagues and series throughout the last week or so as everybody's been prepping for the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And so far, pit road has been the biggest problem spot for a lot of drivers. Even in the Road to Pro series, you saw a lot of drivers struggling to make it down to pit road. And the difficulty comes in the fact that you're effectively having to brake check the entire field at 180 miles an hour with them just inches away from your back bumper. It can't be a pleasant feeling, Andrew.
Not at all. And I was lucky enough to take part in the top split Road to Pro race. Coming down the pit road is a very, very hard thing. That line is deceptive. You may think that's part of the racetrack like we see it like the Charlotte Motor Speedway, but it's actually on the apron, and if you get too low, that thing's going to spin on you, especially coming to pit road. You want to get as low as you can. You want to slow the car down, but don't get below that apron because you're going to spin, and the way the pack racing goes here, you're going to collect a lot of cars.
Qualifying's gotten itself all wrapped up, and 42 drivers have taken it to the green flag. So we will be getting ourselves sorted here at the starting grid in just about 50 seconds here once this little brief warm-up session ends up wrapping on up. If we saw a few times earlier in the season, drivers having to race their way in with qualifying, with there being over 43 entries. Not the case tonight, as we are just under the buzzer. 42 cars have made entrance tonight, and 42 will be taken to the starting grid. There is just under a second separating first from 42nd with a 32.197 the slowest time, or 31.373 the quickest. That being said, though, for Landon Mills, he was a good half a second off of Brian Dixon. It's really more like 0.3 of a second separating first all the way down from 41st. So with that said and done, we'll bring in our other commentator here in a moment, Dylan Coyle. But for now, we'll take things on down to the starting grid, and we'll show you what this is going to be like for the next 130 laps here for the, what is this, the Save 10% at VelocityUSA.com 200 from virtual Hampton, Georgia. It is Agno Phillip on pole position, 1,000th of a second back, sits the likes of Michael Johnson. For there it is 8,000ths back to Brandon Bowie. Matt Danson, the Australian, going to be up there in row number 2 with Nicholas Mara and Michael Araya on row number 3. Sean Castro and Tom Wetmore bring it up for row 4 with Spencer Kostowitz and Ross Cato on row 5 to round out the top 10. Andrew Phipps and Steve Tucker sit on row number 6. Jason Staney is in 13th with Paul Bergoli, and 14th Bradley Burke and Jared Wymaster round out row number 8. Row 9 holds Cody Harris and Brandon Fetter place. To round out the top half of the field, you got William Schmidt, Nahoyan Flores, and Alexander Light, with Esteban Rodriguez already a winner from Daytona, the Pearson Mustang, starting in 22nd. Richard Wolsifer starts in 23rd. third with the likes of Matthew Mara 24th. Richard Woodruff was 24th. Mara is 25th with Cobb 26th. Sean Kale is 27th with Tom Morano 28th. Joseph Tyson, Braden Whitaker round out the top 30. Moving on down to the field, you got Carl Pooler, Ryan Dunkelberger, Gregory Shaw, Grant Davis, Michael Kuczynski, Thomas George, and rounding out the field, you got Steve Durham, Sam Vieto, Eric Papino, Manatsu Major, Brian Dixon, and Landon Mills. We'll bring in our third chair for the booth here tonight. Dylan Coyle is now it is Radford's turn to deal with some technical gremlins behind the scenes. So we replace one technical gremlin for another, it would seem. Dylan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, technical gremlins. I think that is exactly how we want to talk about them. By the way, I want to let everybody know that GetWetSports.com is the world's first digital content library. It showcases and celebrates creators of all sizes and backgrounds, including iRacing, military gamers, and women in gaming. Getting listed is free. Find out more at GetWetSports.com and start on your content creation journey today. The hashtag brand knows no bounds, Nolan.
It certainly does not. And of course, VelocityUSA.com, the title sponsor for today's race. You can use code SHOP10% Velocita for 10% off your order. Visit VelocityUSA.com today and gear up for your next race, offering top quality gear for asphalt, dirt, and sim racing combined, where customers can customize their look and experience unbeatable customer service. Pace car coming around the turn, numbers 3 and 4, and we'll get set to go racing for 130 laps. 200 miles the distance from virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're happy that you joined us here on a Monday night from RaceSpotTV for the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. Agno Phillip gonna lead us into the Geico Restart Zone. Let's go racing from Georgia! And out of turn 4, across the line, Agno Phillip leads the way early here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Brandon Bowie tucked in line to the VelocityUSA.com number 23 Toyota Camry. Jansen has picked up third to the Logitech GLZ Sports Chevrolet.
Sean Casto dropped all the way back, not wanting to deal with anything going on here at the front of the field. I feel like this is going to be a very contentious race. It's 130 laps, which of course is not a lot, but at the same time, it is still a dangerous amount of time for everyone to start moving. You never know when they're going to start going to the front. It can change very quickly.
Well, you got everybody going to the bottom. You got a couple drivers up top. The 39 of Johnson, he's up there trying to make the outside work. Not a whole lot to speak of up there. Everybody's trying to be calm, cool, and collective. No sense in spending the first 5, 10, 15 laps of this race trying to wreck. It's just everybody falling in line here as Agno Phillip, Brandon Bowie, Matt Danson, Lariah, and Mara, your top 5.
And the laps continue to tick away. The outside lane trying to get itself sorted. You see Michael Johnson in the Rich PC number 39 Mustang trying to rip the high side with Ross Cato right in tow in his Atlanta Track Club number 12 car. And that outside lane looks like it's finding some speed early on here, Dylan, but they tend to falter just a touch as they get a bit too close to the outside wall.
Yeah, just yesterday, the outside line had a lot of grip in the real-life Atlanta Motor Speedway. It seemed to beat out the bottom line a lot of the time. Well, right here, they're not as connected, not as hooked up as the inside line. I'd always go with the line that looks hooked up, comfortable pushing each other. I mean, that's the way you want to go if you want to get speed.
Yeah, I mean, you find a lot of speed up there, but it's going to take, with this being a fixed setup race, it kind of makes you be on your toes. It makes you stay in guard, as now you see the 51, Tom Wetmore. He's going to jump to that outside lane to try to give a little bit extra strength and numbers up there. Takes one away from that bottom, makes them close up a little bit more. Kind of makes it an even fight of your first 5, and then you got 5 sitting top side. Maybe he can be the one that does it as the 12 of Cato, old Bagel Boy, trying to go up here and get the top 2 positions.
I find it very interesting here that we've been talking so much over how much this track resembles that of a Blake track now, but at the same time, it still has those characteristics of a traditional mile and a half that can separate your field here in a big hurry. Typically at Blake tracks, we'll see the entire field remain condensed all the way up until the first pit stop, maybe a few drivers falling back here or there. From here, though, it's less than 10 laps in, and already you look even further back, past 22nd place, and from there you got at least a second back to the next lone driver, and it's a good 4 seconds back to the nearest pack of cars, as the field's already been divided in two here tonight, gentlemen, and I think that has to do a little bit with some of that big stacker that we saw on the restart, and the fact that this track doesn't offer enough draft to be able to reel that gap in when you're getting up to speed.
You know, iRacing's going to have a lot of work cut out for themselves in around 5 years because this track is going to change dramatically. I was talking to a few of the drivers who raced this weekend, and they said that this is definitely going to feel more like old Atlanta than new Atlanta in that time frame. They can already feel that the grip is starting to wear off on the track just a little bit. Doesn't keep anyone from pushing each other in the wrong spot and ending up wrecking each other, but nonetheless, yes, this track is definitely a very weird hybrid between those super speedways of Daytona and Talladega. You almost have to scrub off some speed. Another thing to keep note of is that track temperature. It's hot. It's 114 degrees on track, 86 degrees ambient air temperature. Guys, it was under 30 degrees this weekend at Atlanta. I was freezing.
Well, I hate it. I hate the fact that they swapped this racetrack. I really wish they would have left it the way that it was, where you could pull the Harvick line and run that bottom, and it took a lot of tire wear and a lot of patience to win here. I'm very thankful that it will always live on the iRacing platform, that you could go back in time, 3-4 years ago when this track was where it's set, in the previous years. But I mean, the racing's still good here, but man, I really wish that they would have did this to Texas instead, to give just a little bit of a feel and make a track that already stinks a little bit less stinky. Here you had a lot of good racing, a lot of good finishes, and the fan turnout yesterday was not indicative of what the racing was. The racing was good. It was good enough to put a show on. But it breaks my heart that we pushed it there and we took it to this racetrack, and people are going to complain. People are going to whine like normal. It's just the human nature. Everybody likes to cry and moan about something. But man, I really, really wish that these next-gen cars would have got a crack at that racetrack in that configuration, the way it was, the bumps, the lack of grip. Just it would have made a crazy race with these cars with a lot of downforce, a lot of horsepower in them to go around that racetrack, where shifting could have been a big issue. We could have seen people shifting, transmission stuff would have broken a 500-mile race here. But these RSR guys are putting on a show and showing exactly why the new Atlanta configuration is perfect.
I mean, Terry, you remember Auto Club last year with the next-gen cars. Everyone in practice was struggling mightily just to make sure you could get off turn 2, the bumps there. It was hard. It was a good surface for those cars to race on. I agree with you. I feel like it's a shame we never got to see this generation of Cup Series cars race on the old Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I really wish we would have got to see it. I mean, it would have been something. But the good part about it is iRacing will forever live on. This will forever be a part of the iRacing community. So, drivers can take the next-gen car to old Atlanta, run that 1.5 mile configuration, and just see where does this car, what would the racing would have been like on the real surface. Not saying you'll get 100%, what it would be, because obviously the track changes from year to year, from the spring to the fall, but it just would have been really cool to show up to one of these racetracks. And I had the pleasure of living in Atlanta to go to the last one of the old configuration and the first one of the new one, and it's a night and day difference of what the racing's even close to like.
It certainly didn't get close door-to-door race like we got right here for the lead between Agno Phillip and Brandon Bowie and the Velocita.com. number 23 Camry, and so far that outside lane has been establishing itself quite nicely throughout the duration of this race. As that green flag run has come into its own, you can see more and more drivers migrated up to the top shelf, and now in typical plate track fashion, we're starting to see that outside lane, particularly off of 2, getting more and more assistance. That said, though, Michael Johnson's got to get a bit closer up there and actually start pushing that 23 car, or they're not going to be able to clear Agno Phillip in his A51 Pro Chevrolet from the bottom side to make a run down in the turn numbers 1 and 2. Phillip going to pull clear with the lead for now, down for the low side. Matt Dancing going to try to give him a bit of a helping hand here off of turn number 2, and I think that's part of why passing, even though we're at what's essentially now another super speedway, it can still be a big challenge here, but it's not in the traditional sense, right? It's not as in you have to race the track. Now you have to race everybody else around you, and at the moment, you got to more rely on the fact that you got a good pusher behind you. It's not something you're used to on mile and a half.
Patience. That is the name of the game here. I mean, it's such a long race, right? We're talking about 195 miles here, and we're only 18 laps into this race. I'm surprised that we've been double file for as long as we have been instead of just running single file. It is all about patience, and I know, Terry, that's not something you like to hear specifically. I know we want to see racing, but you want to keep the car in good shape for now.
Well, I mean, patience is a virtue. A lot of people fail to have patience in
Including
real
me.
world, or people have in the virtual world. You have a hard time finding patience. You know, there's not a time racing here at this racetrack throughout the week. I spend a little bit more time than what I normally do in an next-gen car racing the A Fixed and the A Open. I thought it would be imperative that, hey, I want to feel what this car does. I need to get better at showing up to the A Fix and stuff. And I just got my A license back, or I lost it last season at Atlanta of this configuration. But you know, you have to be patient. You have to be able to relax. Don't wreck the car now. You got a long way to go. I mean, we got 110 laps remaining around this racetrack. If you wreck it on lap 20, you just wasted your time. You wasted all your practice time. You wasted all of your time for the night. You've already spent 30, 40, 50 minutes sitting here at the sim at your rig. You know, you don't want to throw that time away. But I don't know.
You're endorsing patience?
Yeah, I will endorse it here because this is much different than Talladega and Daytona. I can't stress that one enough. Daytona, Talladega, you have a chance to get away from trouble. Here, you have no way of getting away from it. This track clogs up quick. It clogs up like a toilet. You know, if one big thing happens, you're stuck. You're running into it. There's not a whole lot of places to go here. Talladega, Daytona, you got tons of room at the bottom of the racetrack on the back straightaway to get away from it. Here, no. You reckon 1 and 2, you're taking 10, 15 cars with you, unless, you know, you swing down to the apron. But Nolan, one big accident happens here. If we stay in a big pack like this, half the field's gone.
And I think that's part of why the fact that it is such a tight racing service, right? The fact that that's why NASCAR moved the commitment line over to the entrance of turn 3 instead of the traditional off of turn 4. And that's part of the big reason why pitting is going to be such a big story coming here today, because while yes, NASCAR in the real world may have moved that commitment line to 3, there's no commitment line over here in 3 for iRacing. That has not been updated yet. We don't know if it will be updated, obviously. I would assume it probably will be at some point at a later point. But these guys, they're still clear to pit off of turn number 4. And it's like Andrew mentioned earlier on today, it's not going to be very pleasant at all. And you can already tell a lot of drivers are starting to get a bit frustrated with how this race is panning out. The fact that it's not so easy to make moves, the fact that you do have to be a bit more physical when you want to actually try to make up any kind of ground, it's not something a lot of drivers here are terribly big fans of. A lot of drivers have been vocal in the past year and this year is about it. They prefer the tracks where you get to slow it down a little bit more. And Atlanta Motor Speedway used to be one of those tracks. Not so much anymore. Pitting is definitely going to be, though, one of the big stories today. And as Andrew mentioned, he ran in the Road to Pro series. And I was watching that Road to Pro race as well over in their top split. And I can tell you right now, we usually come down to matches of 4 to 5. At least 2 from every single group would either spin out entering pit road or miss it altogether.
What I'm really interested, guys, in seeing Sam Nieto right here. He is going to go a lap down, but it's going to be interesting to see where he blends into this entire group. He is running around 12 miles per hour slower. Uh-oh, and we're going 3 wide here. Man's already up into the wall. I think that was Was it Bowie? No, it was Fetter Place that was up into the wall. This is going to be a little hairy going into turn 1.
He's got the cherry moonshine on it this time. I will say I'm a big fan of the cherries as well. Back when I was a much heavier drinker than I am now. I think the last time I drank was around Christmas time at a party, but other than that, I don't get to drink as much. But I fully endorse the good old Smoky Moonshine distillery up here in Tennessee. But I'll bring Andrew Freenage in on this one. Big difference from what you won last week at Phoenix in, right? Come here, the cars are the same, but the racing's a little bit more intense. You got to make your moves and choose it wisely, or, well, you turn out like Sam Nieto and you're going a lap down early.
Yeah, the draft is a big play here. Last week, we didn't have any of that. You were actually using the brake pedal. Here, you're probably only lifting out of the throttle. You're seeing right now these guys, the tires are wearing. They're starting to get really tight. We saw when they worked around Sam Nieto. It's easy to get in that outside wall. The bottom lane's pushing up. The outside lane's pushing to the outside wall. And we're going by another lap car here. Tire wear is still a thing. Just imagine Daytona Talladega with tire wear, and that's what we're seeing here. Is, wow, we're 3 wide getting around here.
And much tighter corners as well, if you want to say that. Like, this is dangerous. 3 wide is the maximum you can do, and even then, it's a little bit hairy. We already see some cars still getting into the wall.
Oh, we got one turning around as well. Tucker spinning it out of the 0-0. Caution is out, and that's going to stack him up on the exit of 4. One car head first right into the wall near the start-finish line. Jason Staney has been absolutely destroyed in the Freedom UK Mustang. And just like that, caution number 1. Paul Bergoli very, very quick to take responsibility for the incident. And it all started because of one bad incident, one mistake. Steve Tucker gets into the wall. Bergoli ran him over.
Well, we'll catch in the replay right here exactly what you said, a little bit late. But yeah, Bergoli, he didn't have much of a place to go. As you see, he gets into the wall right here. Bergoli's right behind. And I don't know, I feel like at that point, just lift a little bit, avoid that incident. But it's kind of a double-edged sword right there, right? You can't really slow down because you're going to get hit from behind, but he just kind of ran over him and had nowhere to go. He went into the wall, though, so it was his mistake that started it, and then Bergoli just finished it.
Kind of like what I just said, when you wreck in this pack and this style of racing, much different than what you see at Daytona or Talladega. You got a little bit more wiggle room to get around. You don't have that really here. You kind of just, you're stuck. And if you check up by, I mean, just a hair, you're getting ran over. Because we go back to patience that you were talking about, Dylan. Not a whole lot of patience here. They know that track position's key. If you get track position here at Atlanta, you have a very good shot at winning the race. I mean, you saw Joey Logano didn't have track position for a while yesterday, but when he saw the opportunity to take it with his know-it-all about plate racing or super speedway racing or whatever people call it nowadays, he knew to take the outside. He knew where he was going. He followed the bottom until the top opened up, took the top and went. They have to make the same decision here. If that top opens and you see the run, you have to take it, because if you stay there, you're stuck. You don't get 3 wide often here, and when you do, we see incidents like this where half the cars are wadded up.
Terry, I don't think I've ever heard you as correct as you just were.
I appreciate that. See, I
You're
try to be
welcome.
correct sometimes. It's not often I get to be correct and people tell me I'm right. But, yeah, I had a hard time figuring that out this week, Nolan. I did a lot more wrecking than I did racing this week.
I think that's the sentiment with a lot of drivers that happen to race here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Same for a lot of the guys that happen to race here as well. And even at plate tracks, we'll see that quite frequently. Lights are out aboard the yard safety car. And Sam Nieto getting the lucky dog, or not the lucky dog free pass, but the wave around. So he will stay on the lead lap, but he had to sacrifice a pit stop in order to do so. So now Nieto massively off cycle. He's going to be hoping for an early caution here so he can get himself properly back on cycle here with everybody else as Bergoli sent to the tail of the field.
A lot of drivers having to quickly rush out of the pits and get back into formation here. Brandon Bowie is going to lead the field to green. This is going to be fun. We've got some officiating, and Sam Nieto is potentially going to be a little bit upset right here, Nolan, if you heard what was going on.
Yeah, and the news there was Sam Nieto believes that he was, shall we say, unfairly swindled out of a lucky dog as a result of having to avoid that incident. But unfortunately, the decisions stand, and you can see some of the boards that Race Control has been looking at throughout the course of the day. We don't have to get the look of all the behind-the-scenes
I
stuff
want
here.
that.
I like that too. I don't have anything near that sophisticated for my own league. I should look into getting something like that.
I just got
I'll hit you up
Terry's
afterwards,
face.
and we'll try to see if we can sort something out.
That's a bad officiating crew then.
We're down. Pace car's down the pit road. We're into the Geico restart zone. Brandon Bowie takes us back to the green.
If that's what you have as your race officiating, I'm so sorry if it's just my face.
I just got your face.
Joshua Mendoza, every time he comes down here to share the insight of what race control looks like, shows why he's the top race control for E-Racer, when he was with the Monday Night Racing. Everywhere he goes, he does a phenomenal job in making the call right down the middle. He does not wait to do his call, and I know he's in the call. I'd say this without him in here with us. He always does a fair and consistent job. He does not favor the next person on who you are. He does it correctly off the top the way he's supposed to do it, and that's fair officiating in my opinion. It's not like some of these other sports where they penalize you 5 months down the road for a mistake that you make. It is a perfect time, and he uses a good software that he has. But look at this push on that outside, Dylan. That's Agnell Phillip, your champion, by the way. He showed him how to push there.
I don't know if I like to get pushed that hard this early in the run. You see a little bit of a wiggle there going into that tri-oval section. This is the kind of pushing I want at the end of the race. If I am Tom Wetmore and I have Agnell Phillip behind me, it's just, wow, they're really going for it. I wouldn't be surprised if one push goes a little bit awry.
And we'll running down into turn numbers 3 and 4, and already a massive division shown in the field, this time from 25th on back. You'd already tell the timing boards with some drivers up to 4 seconds now behind the race leaders. We'll obviously keep eyes on this leading pack, though, with Tom Wetmore, the Tube Tech Chevy, ripping the outside lane, and Brandon Bowie headed up the way down low. We have 95 laps to go at the line, and Michael Johnson getting a bit squirrely there off of turn number 2. I think he might have tried to look high, but Wetmore was there to fill the hole. And now the outside lane is discombobulated. Phillip almost gets turned by Danson. They're all crossed up, and now almost 3 wide. Ross Cato forced to scramble, and now here goes Michael Johnson again, trying to jump up top.
Hug out the dry.
Sucker hole.
Yeah, hug out to dry right there.
How about
Why?
Wetmore for the lead?
Oh my goodness, this is quite wild. Yeah, he's back in line. Michael Johnson got back up top. We're back to 2-a-side racing up front, but this just feels too hectic for this point in the race, guys.
Oh, heck no. I know we just preach patience, but turn the wick up a little bit. Get diced up there.
I mean, for
Make
excitement,
moves.
yeah.
Yeah, make moves that you don't normally make, but this also comes with an experience. And I know I'm probably going to make people mad when I say this, but I don't care. I get paid to make people mad. That's what I get paid to do up here. Inexperience up at the front of the pack causes moves like that. That's the moves that you get when you're not used to being up front all the time, because now you're in a position where, well, I want to lead this race. Like, I haven't been in this position too often, and then you make a move like that. I make the same move, so I'm criticizing myself on a microphone just like I'm criticizing people. I led a race and wrecked myself from the lead because I was just a complete impatient human and said, I'm going to block the outside lane from the bottom. They're 10 mile an hour faster than me. I wrecked half the field in an A fixed race and got cussed out by everybody that got hit in that lobby, and they were not fans of me. I do the same thing at Talladega and Daytona. Inexperience in the front of a field, when you get on a plate track where the great equalizer sits, you're going to be a little bit more aggressive because this is your one chance to win a race out of a season that has maybe, 3 plate tracks in it all year round? You have to capitalize on it early, and we're seeing it right here where moves are being made.
I'm shocked that they've lasted as long as they have after the restart without making major contact. You saw that Nicholas Mara got sucked into the place where he's hung out to dry, the middle of a 3-wide situation. I'll tell you who feels the most comfortable right now is potentially Matt Danson. You see he's got some separation. The 5th car in line on the outside line. He doesn't want to get too pushy. He doesn't want to get pushed too much. He's happy where he is. I think he's giving himself some space in the case that something happens.
Well, I ain't too sure, but that outside lane, man, it's
Hooked up.
it's hooked up, but it's also getting a little hairy. I just watched Tom Wetmore, man. I just watched him with Brandon Bowie pushing the fire out of him. He got sideways there. We're accustomed to seeing moves up in the front that could kind of be on the outside, on the verge of out of control. But that 23 doesn't want to relinquish off the back bumper of that 51 machine. But it's also kind of letting that bottom work their way up there, too. I mean, they got Michael Arai and Ross Cato. They're pushing like crazy on the bottom as well.
I predict, guys, very soon, some angry voices in the Discord chat.
Well, I can tell you right now, at least the on-track radio, it is eerily quiet considering how intense
too much.
It's been. I think it's concentration, right? Everybody at this point is just trying to focus on that and not absolutely destroying what we have left of this field. And everybody's more focused on just trying to survive at this point than actually getting mad at each other. But that's not going to take very long, right? One mistake, and that's all going to fall apart. Brandon Bowie and Tom Wetmore, they continue to run. Nose to tail with Phillip up on top. Ross Cato looking down for the low side, but the outside lane, I think it took them a few laps to kind of figure out what they were doing, right, Dylan? But ever since then, they have absolutely come in big form.
Yeah, absolutely. Pushing really well. I think Bowie, I think Agnell Phillip, they really know what they're doing up there. Tom Wetmore is doing a good job getting pushed and keeping that outside line around 2.5 car lengths out in front. I just worry because of this aggression, and you see Bowie gets far out in front. He's going to get a big push coming up soon. That outside lane, while it is hooked up, they've gotten so tight, so close, and look at that. How about that for a swap over? Brandon Bowie comes up to the outside lane. Tom Wetmore is no longer the leader of that second line, and now we've got a little bit of different temperament out in front.
Yeah, the outside lane starting to form themselves up, and Cato on the bottom. The outside just looks like they're pushing hard. They're pushing hard, and then they kind of just back off. They relax a little bit, but go a little further back with Matt Danson. You look now, you're starting to see people come into the fray. You see Wolfsire coming in. You see Johnson in the 39. Kostovitz there, and Cato's loose on the bottom. He's swaying back and forth there.
And we're starting to see these lines bobbling around a little bit more as these tires get a little bit more worn out into the course of these runs. It's not so much a case of they're going to lose speed. It's more they're just going to lose traction, much like what we see over the plate. Trax is right there. Cato, a huge bobble down to the inside. Michael Araya tucked right in tow. Andrew, I want to come to you with this one because obviously you ran the Road to Pro Series race. You mentioned before, he's got another driver about to be caught in the sucker hole here. Does it change at all when you race the trucks compared to the Gen 7s in a track like this?
Oh yeah, the trucks, we could comfortably go 3 wide. We were 3x3 if you wanted to for the whole run. These cars, you got to give a lot more space. You know, I don't know if it's the aerodynamics or what, but you can't really run 3 wide comfortably for more than 5-6 laps. Once the tires start to go away, and we're seeing it, you got to give a lot of space. These cars start pushing to the outside wall if you're in that outside line. If you're on the inside line, you're going to start washing up to the lane above you. So you really have to take it easy. The trucks, you know, we were open setup, so we were a lot more loose, but you could send it 3 wide comfortably. I mean, you still had to hold on to that thing, but these cars that look a lot more tight, tire wear seems like it's a lot more. So these guys, I'm surprised they're pushing this hard, especially that the tires are going to get worse, and you're really going to see handling come in here if we stay green.
I think the real question we're about to find out here, Andrew, is who really wants to push it to the limit? Who's going to be the one that puts himself in a better position as Tom Wetmore goes to the bottom in front of the 12 of Cato? That outside lane lost their momentum when Agnell Phillip got to the back bumper of Brandon Bowie and couldn't necessarily keep it. Tom Wetmore wants this lead. He takes it. Oh,
yikes!
Back, chill out, dog.
Thomas George, oh boy.
And the understatement
That's my
of
pick
the
to
race
win it.
right there. And Proper Goalie comes over the radio. I didn't know iRacing had hands-free mode, so I think that kind of says a thing or two there. And it's again, though, that case of that one car on the bottom lane that leads the way, right? They get a shit once, and there's nowhere for anybody to go behind them, just like you were mentioning earlier on in this race, Terry.
Well, I think I took Carl Pooler. That's who I remember. We showed him, and it hit my mind that I picked Carl Pooler to win this race. I'll take a 6 win, too. I think Thomas George would be a good winner, but I think Carl Pooler is going to win this race in a chaotic fashion. I mean, we're seeing racing like this lap 30. We're seeing it again at lap 50. But look at the new player on the bottom. That's a name we hadn't seen. Landon Mills, Matt Danson coming through the fray. And Landon Mills started in 40th, mind you. Lap 50, he finds himself in 3rd, about to push Matt Danson to the race lead.
You see that bump going into turn 3? I feel like that's something. There's a bump entering turn 3 and there's a bump exiting turn 4. Pay attention to that next time. I feel like these drivers are starting to deal with tire wear, and I think because of that, those bumps are going to be even more difficult to kind of contain.
And it's, again, the small things, right? Those subtle little bumps that you might not even see from the external cameras. So all these cars need to be able to get upset and go around. I mean, you look at how fast they go flying around this place and how quick they can lap. And it looks like they've got so much grip and so much downforce, but it's balancing on a knife's edge, right? I mean, these guys it doesn't take a lot to spin these cars around. We've already seen that with drivers getting loose completely unprompted on their own on the exit of these corners. That was already a case even at the old Atlanta. Now there's a bit more grip, yes, but the speeds are so much higher as well that it kind of counteracts the extra grip a newly repaved surface might potentially give. We're getting close to that halfway point here as well. A lot of drivers did come down around the lap 30 mark when we had that first yellow flag. But I think it is definitely worth noting that I don't think that's going to be far enough in to be able to make it to the end of this race. I think we might have one more stop left in us here under green.
That is assuming that we're going to stay under green the whole time.
True, very true.
And I do not think that's going to happen. The walls are green, but the flag will not stay green that long.
I do appreciate a good Blink 182 reference, Nolan, with all the small things. I don't know if you did it intentionally, but I'll take a Blink 182 reference. On a Monday night here after 13 hours at work, and then my night does not end at the 66 of Gregory Skull. Goes down another lap back there in 41st. He'll ride the bottom. And you hear that right there? Lifting a little bit, not wanting to stay full throttle. Maybe he's just fighting the tightness, doesn't want to slide up into the outside lane or the middle groove. I don't know why he's necessarily fighting this hard. He broke that bottom lane completely up with the 95. And that is just stalling the momentum of everybody around him. I know he's, was 1 lap down, but if you're going 2 laps down here, you should potentially get below that red line.
When you said full throttle, I almost said roll credits.
Oh boy, we're not there yet. We're not even halfway. Don't tell me you're getting bored, Dylan.
No. It's like the name of the movie. It's the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series. So roll credits. It says the name.
Yeah,
it's like. You think we're
good save? That's
what I meant.
It's like the Family Guy episode where Peter's sitting in the movie theater. It's like where everybody says the name of the movie. It's like Batman or Superman 2. Oh, he said it. He said
the words. Full throttle. He said it.
That's who we are.
Just as one Brandon Bowie's car reads the title sponsor of this race, the VelocityUSA.com number 23 Toyota Camry. Of course, one of the big name sponsors coming out over into today's race, sponsoring the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway here for tonight's run of that Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series. I'll tell you what, Bowie's been doing a good job of Velocity so far. He's been running that car before all along. I can tell you what, they're getting the money's worth right now with all this camera time that car's been getting.
Yeah, did you know you could save 10% at Velocity-USA.com, by the way?
I did not. Tell me more.
Oh, yes. Well, there wasn't more to say. You can save 10% at velocity.usa.com. I would tell you more, but that's the name of the race.
Promo code SHOP10% Velocity for 10% off of your order, where you can get yourself geared up for your next race, whether it be asphalt, dirt, or sim, and you can look the absolute best with unbeatable customer service.
Well, I like that. If you guys are throwing shameless plugs out there too, I'll throw one too. The guy to the outside, he's got, well, that would be the official pedal and steering wheel of the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series with Logitech. And if you want to race on the fantastic sim with the Velocity stuff that they do, I don't know, I didn't get to look into it, I was busy. But if you want to do that, you can race on Logitech just like people in iRacing.
People in
Shameless plug.
iRacing or aliens like Andrew Farinas.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, since you're the alien here, what wheel and pedal set do you race on?
I got a Thrustmaster T300. Nothing.
I love it.
What do you think? Go get Thrustmaster for all your sim racing needs.
This is just a shameless plug hour of the side-by-side Atlanta racing. Sorry, Nolan.
Oh boy. I'm kind of multitasking on my own over here as well, figuring out what this strategy is going to be looking like as we get down to business here. Now, strategy.
My job.
I know. I was going to say strategy is not something.
Oh boy,
typically
they're getting a little antsy up top. Did you see those bumps in the backstretch and then all five cars?
I did.
Yeah,
It's not going to
you
make it
this-
any easier when they catch the Woodruff here in a hot minute.
I'll tell you the strategy, Nolan. You ready? Pit when they wreck, because they're probably going to wreck. It's more than likely going to happen. We're going to go 3 wide here in a second. They've already, jumbled this field up one time with a couple incidents. The moves are getting crazier. Look at the move that the leader just got. He got a really big run here. By the time that pack catches him, are they going to be clear to the bottom? Does he block? The answer is no, because they sailed by him there. But Danson's going to get
Johnson's in the wall.
too, and Johnson hits the wall. Here we go. Here comes Cody Harris.
That's not good news. Remember what happened the last time we had a car get up into the wall? This time Blizzard survived, but Woodruff playing spoiler for the bottom lane. That's going to stack everybody up. The top 5 breaking away, but now Ross Cato's got it clear with Cody Harris in tow. They might be able to close back up, and in fact they will. So that top 5 breaks away, but they're not going to break away for very long. Woodruff going to settle himself in line, and I can tell you right now, if that's a look of concentration on like nothing we've ever seen before, probably nothing we're going to see since until we get down to the next plate track on the face of Cody Harris, as he is definitely struggling to motivate something happen. He's giving a bit of a shot to the bumper by Minazzi Major.
Man, this is intense racing at Atlanta. They call it Hotlanta sometimes for a reason. And you see that outside line. Oh, look at Dancing coming down to the inside. He wants to get that lead right back. I guess you figure, as everyone goes up into the wall on the high line, I guess you figure the easiest way to avoid any of these wrecks is to stay out in front.
Not so fast. That wreck could happen up front real quick. I promise you that. The outside lane, the front of the pack, it does not matter. You can wreck anywhere you want here in Atlanta, because the moment somebody breaks loose, nobody's checking up for you. The person in second's not checking up for you. If they're pushing you here and you check up, you bobble, you hit that apron, you're probably going around, because nobody's going to sit here and lift off the throttle for you to make a mistake. It just will not happen. I mean, I just watched Agnell Phillip. He got sideways for a second. He got a punt from Cody Harris, which and then let him regroup it. He pushes Landon Mills to the lead for the first time here this afternoon. He jumps in front of Matt Danson. But think about this for the 38. Oh, buoy, smacked that wall. But Danson's had really bad luck here this season. He needs to turn it around, and right now is the place to do it.
And word coming on now from San Nieto. He's got a pit. So Nieto in the 2 car going to be the first one to come down to pit road here. And he is in the kind of a back portion of another pack of cars way down the field. And he's letting them all go through so we can have clear space to get to the inside line. And of course, I think Nieto, remember, he was one of those drivers, right, that was caught off cycle with that first yellow flag. He had to stay out to stay on the lead lap because he did not get the lucky dog free pass after he had to scramble to avoid the wreck. And now he's going to find himself effectively going a lap down for the duration of this race now, which is just a huge shame for the number 2 car. He was hoping for an early caution. We've come close a few times, but unfortunately for him, He will not be getting the yellow flag that he needs before he has to hit pit road here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So for the rest of the train here, starting to single file now, there's a good chunk of cars now running a bit of a middle to high line as things stand, and it looks like even your leaders not too eager to jump down to the low side. I wonder if potentially the risk of losing traction from the bottom is just too great to be able to risk going that far down now.
Boys, you know what we're missing out on right now? Some Jeremy Miller aggressiveness. If anyone's wondering where he and Eric Stanford are, they are both serving 1 race suspension. Stanford for exceeding the penalty point threshold. Miller, if you watched anything from Phoenix, intentional wrecking in pit lane. So that was lots of fun to watch. But nonetheless, we come back to talking about what's happening here. The amount of energy, the speed that they're scrubbing going into the corners is really starting to show. They're losing a lot of time in the corners compared to what they were holding on, as another lapped car is going to have to be the challenge of Matt Danson right here. The 3 cars in front have kind of broken away a little bit, but they've had to slow down. This has been uncomfortable, but it's been quick. 60 laps to go. We're at the point where if they go into the pits now, they're pretty much fine if this stays green.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Our race control just posted in here in the chat to give us a tidbit. Carl Pooler going a lap down right there, took it away from the 27 machine. So we'll see where Carl Pooler blends in here. If people actively want to work with him or not, based off of, if he's off pace or did he just lose the draft due to people, getting loose or checking up and he just missed the draft for a little bit. But be interested to see if we get the caution right about this time. Can he stay in front of the 27 machine to keep the lucky dog going as Cody Harris jumps to the outside, Landon Mills, Agnell Phillip, Matt Danson still holds it up there. This has been a super quick race. It really feels like yesterday's Cup race, honestly, where we went single file, we really didn't race the whole lot, we kind of just relaxed a little bit, and then all hell broke loose. So we'll see if that happens here too.
We're past that halfway point at this point in time. 57 laps to go as we round lap number 74. Danson has taken that race lead away, and he's been leading the way for quite some time now. Agnell Phillip has been more than content, just kind of sitting in line. There goes Tom Wetmore jumping to the inside with the top 4 stacked up. He'll shoot to the inside. Cody Harris trying to get something back for the top shelf, and now Wetmore having to lift a little bit. The dirty air starting to play a small bit of a factor in how this race pulls out. In fact, Wetmore going to drop back now with the outside lane. I think he might have lifted a little bit there, Terry, to kind of let these guys through. Not wanting to be caught in the sucker hole as these guys get caught, but Brandon Bowie going to fall for the top lane instead.
Yeah, now Tom Wetmore's going to go to the high side. He'll go where the rest of the drivers are at the moment. Everybody's just going to be single file. I think pit stops are on the horizon for a lot of these drivers. They know that they're not going to make it to the end. They're going to have to make a green flag pit stop. If you single file it out now, you have a better shot of potentially not wrecking onto pit road. But interesting point that you brought up is, well, it's not in 3 and 4 like it was yesterday in the Cup Series. You actually are on the regular Atlanta pit road. Which means you come off of turn 4 and you have maybe 30 feet to get down to 45 miles an hour around this racetrack. So, I mean, you go from top speeds at about 185, 190 to 45 really quick, and you have to maximize it. You can't, you can't just kind of sit here and half throttle it and figure it out. You have to be aggressive. And you know who is really aggressive on brakes? Road course ringers. I kind of hate to tell you, but 3 out of the top 5 have won an RSR competition on a road course, and Danson, Agnell Phillip, and Cody Harris.
Continue to gradually take these laps away. We typically do this right around halfway, but it looks like things are settling down enough that we can take a step for the iRacing midway race. The iRacing midway race break, and Matt Danson leads the way with Agnell Phillip down to that second position as he runs through the field. Landon Mills in the team Chevrolet sitting back in a couple of third place, and he started stone dead last at 42nd. By far the most spots gained out of anybody. Top Wetmore's in 4th, with Cody Harris in 5th. Brandon Bowie 6th. with the likes here of Ross Cato in 7th. Michael Johnson is 8th. Jared Weimister and Spencer Kostowitz will be rounding out the top 10 here, Terry.
Well, Burton just jumped into the top 10. Now he's back to 11th. And you got Davis, Major, Lariah, Wolfsire, Rodriguez sitting in the top 16. And then you're going to go all the way back to 17th here, where you're going to find the likes of, I'll wait for my scoring to go, David DeKalb, Rodriguez, Thomas George, Nicholas Mara, Joseph Tice, your top 20.
And that leaves at 21st spot, Matthew Mara with Steve Durham at 22nd, Alexander Light 23rd, with Sean Castell back in 24th, and he has dropped several spots from 7th, where he started on the grid. Andrew Phipps is 25th, with Ryan Dunkelberger in 26th. Brady Whitaker 27th, with Michael Kaczynski 28th. Sean Kellis and William Schmidt round out the top 30, Dylan. Or perhaps not. Steve Tucker in 31st with Paul Bergoli in 32nd. Brandon Fetter plays 33rd with Eric Papineau in 34th. Tom Morano 35th. Brian Dixon in 36th. And Nahoon Flores brings up 37th, the last driver on the lead lap. Pooler, Woodruff, Shaw, and Nieto round out the field with Jason Staney currently sitting a good 50 laps down, as that'll be your run through the field for the RealSimRacing Midway Race Break. Tonight's race sponsored by VelocityUSA.com. Get the best in professional motorsports apparel at VelocityUSA.com. They offer top quality gear for asphalt, dirt, and sim racing enthusiasts. Customize your look and experience with their unbeatable customer service. Don't forget to use code SHOP10% Velocita for 10% off your order. Visit them today and gear up for your next race.
You caught me mid-chew. I was eating an ice cream sandwich.
What kind of ice cream?
What flavor
are we talking?
Oh, we're talking like a chocolate chip cookie, vanilla.
Oh,
yeah.
Can we put him on camera eating this ice cream? Is this an opportunity here? If I can.
I mean, it is an opportunity, but I would prefer not to have myself. Oh, I mean, maybe that would be funny. All for.
Is this like a Days of Thunder reference? I mean, I feel like we need to see this now. Like, if he's actually eating this ice cream sandwich correctly here. But I will bring Andrew Freenage in on this, because we're talking strategy. Strategy is the name of the topic that we're going to have here. Fuel mileage wise, if we stay green, and that's a major if. What are we looking at fuel-wise, and what's your strategy? What's the cards you're putting us? There's the ice cream sandwich. We'll bring the strategy while he's eating the ice cream sandwich. Is you're on the pit box, he's eating a damn ice cream sandwich on pit road.
Man, that looks good. I'd like one as well.
Can't have it.
Oh, why not?
Because you're like not in Charlotte.
I'll be on the next point. Anyway,
on the track, I can't say I blame you there, Andrew.
These guys, if they run this thing out, they can go anywhere from lap about 95 to 102. I think right now, the ones that are going to be in good position here, you're going to have to pit with people. So look at Agnell, look at Agnell Phillip, look at Matt Danson. I think even Landon Mills, if they come together, I guarantee you they're going to come off pit road very well and probably have a little bit of a lead. Right now, I think you're waiting for that first pack, probably 4 or 5 cars to come in together, and then everybody will probably follow suit. But right now, I think it's just waiting out for that first pack to come in, and then everybody will follow in. But they can go probably another 10 or so laps. I would say 10, max of 15 more, then they're going to have to come in for gas.
Have y'all ever heard any Mara brother flip out? It's what we just got.
See, I can't multitask. I can't listen to the iRace and chatter and work at the same time. My mind doesn't work like that. I have like a simple playing monkey in my head. It goes with the flow. I have nothing left.
I will say my claim to fame was listening to the broadcast audio, being part of the broadcast, racing in the race, and listening to everyone else speak in sim all at once. That was hard.
Is that really as much multitasking, though, as when you're watching 6 races, though, at once?
Do tell.
It's just something I do I made a New Year's resolution to try to watch as many races from Flow as I possibly could. And so far I'm going strong. I've had up to 8 at some points with 4 on each individual monitor. It gets difficult to keep track of everything at once. I make it work.
Your parents must be very proud.
I
did the same thing, dude. I do the same thing sometimes. I'll set up a bunch of different screens. Oh, man.
It's going to fall apart when we get down to like 20, 30 races a day coming this summer. But you know what? I got a good streak going for now.
That's fair. Yeah, you're in the kind days right now as we see Tom Wetmore making a move to the inside and losing a lot of steam very quickly. Cody Harris right there. That was almost catastrophic.
Getting news all the way back there for the 5 and the 66. Almost had a wreck there with those two drivers. Going into turn 1, didn't get the wreck as you look all the way back here with Joseph Tice currently sitting in the 20th position, having a bit of an issue back there in the mid pack and the second pack of these groups of drivers, and we'll wait to see how many come down in this first initial run, and if we do cycle through the green flag pit stops, what shakes up is Sam Nieto goes another lap down as the front 7 has dipped all the way back to Bradley Burke. He's sitting in 8th. He's going to lead that second pack's charge to potentially come up here and put them in a better position. As you see him in the faintly distance of the background camera shot, not a whole lot of action. I think Nolan, we're going to wait to see if that second pack pits first and if it makes an advantage.
39 laps remaining as we run it back down in towards turn number 1. Dancer continuing to lead the field, and now we can really see a good chunk of this field is spaced apart, and part of this has been due to lap traffic gradually working their way through. Every time a lap car is coming through, we've lost about 5 or 6 cars at the very back end of these trains, and now we went from once having 26 at the very start of this run down to having only 7 that are on the lead lap, and then 2 others that are tagged on that are laps down as things stand. So, or make that 3 that are actually laps down. So kind of just proving the point there that sometimes the way racing falls, it tends to get drivers separated out. We do see this kind of separation at plate tracks as well, right? But if you keep going for long enough, you're gonna get this kind of separation over there as well. We see it all the time, but it never quite as quickly as it can happen at tracks like Atlanta, which is a good reminder. It is still a mile and a half, right? It is still an intermediate racetrack, even though it might race like a super speedway. And I think that's one thing that a lot of these drivers continue to have to kind of struggle with as they work their way through these laps, right? Remembering that mentality. It is still a mile and a half. This isn't a plate track where you can throw it bonsai 4 wide down the inside into the tri-oval and make something happen like you can at Talladega. Still got to approach it with the track that it's got. It's not a long racetrack. It's a very narrow racetrack, and one that can bottleneck as well. You see how the quad oval opens up to about 4, almost 5 lanes, and then just condenses down to about 2.5 when you get down to turn 1.
You know, there's another thing here that we haven't even mentioned yet. It's practice is difficult here at a track like this, where you have to practice as close to race conditions as possible. But how do you do that if you don't have a huge pack to practice with? You don't get that much by just running solo laps. You don't get that much by just running with a pack of 4 or 5 guys. You almost have to practice like it's a race with the entire field. And because you can't really do that easily, you can't get everybody set up to do that, it can make for a lot of unknowns in race time.
Yeah, there is a ton, a very, very big ton of just inexperience in this position, right? This is not something you see every day. You don't necessarily get green flag pit stops at a racetrack like this where you're right on top of each other. So now the moment is going to come to fruition is this is your money stop. You're not going to pit again, even if we have pitting, unless you got damage. So yeah, we got people pitting in. The 94, the 38, the 40 are pitting this time. So the top drivers up front are all going to come down, and we'll see who maximizes it. They're speeding, wrecking.
Mills lock it down! The 26 just getting stopped as he fires down to pit road. Here comes a whole other host in behind. One driver misses pit road altogether, And that was Matthew Mara. And we got a whole host of drivers down in the pit road. That's exactly what I was talking about, guys, about how difficult it is to come down into the pit road. Mara missed the box, and he's not the only one. Aaron Papino's will also miss pit roads. They're all going to be completely off cycle there. Here comes Billy and Michael Johnson that are going to hit pit road. And I think this is exactly why we saw them move that commitment line out to turn number 3 for the Cup, or for the NASCAR races in general. Coming on up this last weekend or so, and about another quarter coming down, and here comes, I think, just about everybody else now to swing down into the lane as well. Everybody that didn't come down at least before. I believe now this is the only guys that have not come down yet. The likes of Bradley Burke, Davis, Lariah, Major, Kostowitz, and more. We'll be seeing any of these guys coming on down and in for pit road for service this time around. Looks like we will, but that's Major making the dive down. Here comes the second half of that field, and Major's gonna miss it, hits the cone. Might get a penalty for that one, and there's a few black flags. Kostowitz, Schmidt, Major, all bought for speeding.
I can tell you one thing that the 82 is going to find in their Discover Weekly: a penalty.
Quick burn. I like it. I think if you were the drivers who stayed out right here, you clearly are banking. You got to be banking on the caution. You thought for sure that somebody was locking it up, coming to pit road and losing control, and that the yellow was going to come out. Now, well, we've cycled through the pit stops. We're going to go all the way back to what we were with Danson, Phillip, all of them coming up, catching them. There they go. They're going to retake this race lead, and you were right, Andrew. You were right on the money that if those 3 came down and pitted, they were going to get a substantial lead, and that's what they got.
Yes, they did. And I mean, they're pulling away right now. They got 2 to 3, maybe even 4 by the time they get up to speed here. So they're really looking in good shape. Those guys are really hoping there's no caution. I'm sure the rest of the field is hoping they get one relatively soon to bunch them back up.
Danson officially retakes the race lead. You see Munati Major pit a second time there. He only drove straight through pit road the first time. The reason why he did that, when he overshot pit road and clipped the yellow cone on the right-hand side, he's the first box in line. He had no say whatsoever into what he was doing there, and so that's why he had to drive straight on through. He was missing that box if he wasn't going under pit road speed by the time he got there. So it was a horrible call for Major, and now he finds himself down a lap. Danson, Phillip, Wetmore now in their 3-car breakaway here for the race lead down into turn number 3, down the back straightaway. Right behind them, the first car in line, that's Eric Papineau, but he is also a lap down, running in 31st with the lucky dog spot.
This is the weirdest plate race I've ever seen so far. Just everybody so stacked away from each other. I know, Andrew, that's what he was saying, but goodness me, this is just weird.
Yeah, when you just get that pit stop was enough to really split them up. Before that caution, we had the top 7 pulling away, and that really came down the tires. You notice Matt Danson at the start of that last run was sitting in the back, kind of conserving it. And when you have Agnell pushing him right now, Tom Wetmore, they got a nice little pack of 4 cars. They are starting to get caught a little bit by that pack behind, but you got to imagine they're burning tires trying to run these guys down. So when you get a plate track with a little bit of tire wear, sometimes it can become the single file line. As your leaders are coming up on lap cars, it's going to be a blessing for them as they're going to get the draft coming up here in the 3 and 4.
Maybe it's going to be a blessing. You don't want to say that yet.
Can I be pessimistic for a second?
No, absolutely not. Pessimism is not allowed on these broadcasts. We're never negative.
Well, it's not necessarily negative. It's a bit of a. I'm trying to foreshadow maybe what's going to happen here at the end, but it's going to be pessimistic for the top 2 leaders. Because if you're the 51 of Tom Wetmore here in this situation, you're in a prime position to win this race. And all it's going to take at this moment is Agnell Phillip's going to take a run. There is no way Agnell Phillip does not take a run to win 3 races this early in the season. He's going to take a shot at this at some point. He's going to take the opportunity to push it out there. Do we potentially see where the 94 takes the run and we have a Brian Vickers, Dale Jr., Johnson effect, where he potentially comes down, tries to make Agnell think that he's going to take that run,
gets on that quarter panel and turns them both by accident and wins this race? Or does he wait for them to side draft the mess out of each other, catch one of these lap down cars that's right behind him? Maybe that Sean Kayla's car could potentially push him past here. I mean, we do have a lucky dog fight in between this with Eric Papineau and the 43, but this
Sean
would be the
Kayla's
craziest thing in the world if we stay green to the end with 23 laps to go. I would not be shocked if the 51 didn't have a massive opportunity in a window to win this race.
I wouldn't be so quick, though, to just talk about the 51 because, as mentioned previously, that second pack of 3 cars, it's coming. Michael Johnson, Brandon Bowie, Landon Mills, they are right there. They are already starting to pass some of these lapped cars, and we're about to have a 6-car battle for the lead.
Doesn't take long for the packs to get reformed up. We've talked about this before at other plate tracks. It's never going to be quite to the same size as it is at the start of a green flag run, but you're always going to get some sort of a pack when you get to races like this. And this is the second pack got in the field, headed up by Thomas George, currently running in 7th. He's got Harris, Cato, Rodriguez, Wymaster, Burke, Davis, along with Mara and Flores, who are both laps down. So you got a whole host of drivers as well fighting for spots in and around the top 10. The last spot's available for the top 10. And then obviously your lead pack up here, the biggest one we got now up on the racetrack. And they're starting to capture a lot of traffic a little bit further up the road, who are battling each other instead of actually helping each other run away from these guys. So we could be seeing a few more cars still losing laps at the end of this race.
I'm just trying to compartmentalize what we are about to see here, because we're going to see cars battling each other in the same pack, not just for the lead of the race, not just for the lucky dog position, but for position 2 laps down, all in the same lead pack. It's kind of wild. You don't see that often.
Well, I think that's what makes this race and this track so unique and so different from every other racetrack that we go to that has a super speedway feel to it. And I mean, I go back to the point that I said earlier that I don't know why they did it to this track, but it really hasn't produced bad racing. I mean, yes, are we sitting here on a broadcast at the moment and we're talking about 6 drivers with an opportunity to win this race? Yeah. How often do we go to the old Atlanta and we had 6 drivers that was in contention in the final 20 laps of the race that had a shot to win this at a 3-wide dogfight?
Oh, we've got a spin, maybe, right in front of the leaders.
Maybe. Nope, he saved it.
What an incredible save.
Oh, he's still loose.
Holy cow.
That almost got nasty, but look there. Here comes that second pack. They put themselves up there. There's Landon Mills. He got to the outside.
Gonna take a look at the replay of this one here real quick. You're gonna see, oh my gosh, there's already getting physical there between Kaczynski and Tucker. And I think Kaczynski thought it was clear, and it just wasn't. He turns himself across Tucker.
What a save!
Yeah, no kidding.
Go Braves!
Almost 90 degrees sideways to the racetrack.
You got the baseball team right with the Braves.
Go Phillies.
You hush your mouth. Hey, look, Mills got to third. He got around Tom Wetmore here. This lap traffic kind of playing into the battle, or he changed his sponsor. The team machine over there in that 26 machine. We'll see. Does Tom Wetmore use him as a pick to go up here and potentially win this race, or does Landon Mills get maybe a win this early? And can he put it together? He spent a lot of time suspended last year. Maybe he wins it and stays on the racetrack all season.
Oh, almost a big mistake right there, but nonetheless, Mills is going for it. Does he have the help? I don't think he does.
And now we're going to be seeing drivers scrambling left, right, front, and center to try to get themselves sorted and set themselves up for those last lap runs that these guys are going to have to worry about. Again, the battle for the lucky dog also in this pack with now Tucker and Fetter Place, the 2 drivers vying for it, along with Sean Kalis, trying to make a run up on the top shelves to see if a caution comes out, if any one of them can get the chance to get back on the lead lap and fight these guys for a potential race win. But with 15 laps to go, now 14 and a half, it's going to be a bit of a run. Point, but
Michael Johnson,
helped by Brandon Bowie to the inside.
Johnson getting a little bit pinched right there by Agnell Phillip. Danson has his hands full. He's trying to choose in between who he should block. There's 14 laps to go. We go on board with Michael Johnson. Look at Agnell Phillip. He comes down, hesitates a little bit, but now he's down on the low side. Matt Danson comes down on the low side as well. Wetmore is a bit out to dry. No pun intended. This is wild.
I would say that if you're Agnell Phillip, you he timed the move, but he kind of did what Brad Keselowski did. Wasn't necessarily the fastest quick response to get yourself down there, to put yourself in a position.
Hesitation.
Yeah, maybe he's blocking. Maybe he's just blocking for Matt Danson, that he's like, hey, I'm going to get Matt Danson a win. But I don't necessarily see Agnell Phillip potentially sitting there taking a win and giving it to somebody else. As here comes Johnson. He has no help on the bottom, and now that lets the 51 Tube Tech Chevy go up there and push the 94 of Agnell Phillip. Whoa, this is...
Oh, Bowie's going to hit him hard, and Bowie's going to get hit hard as well. This is wild. Here's another thing to keep in mind as we still have more lap cars getting involved here. These drivers obviously don't want to take anybody out, but it's not like they're going to just put on the brakes now. Earlier in the race, we might have seen somebody like Danson just hold off a little bit, have some separation between the car in front and the car behind. Now, throw that all the way. We're coming to 11 laps to go. Around 17 miles. This is going to get intense. It already is, but it's going to even get more intense. Now, do we stay green the rest of the way?
Danson continues to lead. Now it's Phillip, though, looking for the bottom as we get set to come down to 10 laps to go. Oh, big bump! And Danson has to scramble to the middle line as Agnell Phillip nearly turns Matt Danson. Tom Wetmore takes full advantage of the loss of momentum. He'll scramble to the inside. Caution, and flag is out. And Wetmore, I don't think, took the lead. It's a wreck in 3 and 4. And one car, it's Matthew Mara, stopped on the inside line. That was all stemming from the second pack, guys, where that all originated, where they had been going for 3 wide, and just like that, that was the lucky dog that Tucker was hoping for.
I'm watching the replay, and now you'll watch the replay with me. Cody Harris getting into Thomas George, it seems. It's a little bit in front. A bit of a checkup. I don't know if it was more the air being taken off. Those are some big hits right there. On the outside wall. I don't know if it's a similar situation to that, pocket of air that gets built in between when you're running so closely in behind to another driver. I mean, you saw it with Kevin Harvick and Ross Chastain on Sunday where there wasn't any contact, but that bubble of air, because of how close you were, was right there, and it upset the car enough that it made them turn around. I think Thomas George was caught in between a rock and a hard place where right on the exit, you had to deal with that lap traffic there, and he was getting pushed ever so slightly in behind by Cody Harris. It's really no one's fault. It's avoidable, but it's a racing incident.
Yeah, but somebody's got to claim the caution point, or Papa Pasoko is gonna, come down with a penalty regardless. So, if you're
Papa Pasoko.
Papa Pasoko, I know it's got a ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I like to say Pasoko no.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But somebody's got to take the point, right? Because it was a racing deal, but obviously he's going to put it on paper, and somebody's going to get a penalty point for it. So we'll see who does claim it there. I don't know if Cody Harris is going to claim it for being there. It is just a racing deal. I mean, if you get on the back bumper of one of these cars, especially coming off the exit of the corner, you have the opportunity of taking the air off of them. Not as much as the Gen 4 cars that are currently out in the iRacing service, that you could potentially go to iRacing.com, save 40% to be a new member and subscribe. But just enough to make you slip and slide and scream and shout.
Twist and shout.
Quick little iRacing promo in there too. Whatever. Just throw it out there that people can save 40% by being a new member on iRacing.
Oh, how?
Going to iRacing.com.
And I think that's just about it.
Wow.
Wow. It applies
really
stuff automatically, I do believe.
Yeah, it does. Or, you can find QR codes everywhere. Like if you watch the eNASCAR College Series tomorrow night with James Pike, myself, and Taylor Burris, live on eNASCAR.live at, I believe it's 9 Eastern or 8 Eastern. I can't remember the time, but it's sometime tomorrow. You can watch the eNASCAR College Series for Michigan.
Interesting.
Oh, you know what else is interesting? Since we're throwing promos out for stuff that potentially is on RaceSpot, I hear that there's a new color for the Wednesday night PRL show here on RaceSpotTV. And, I also hear that there's a new entrant for the PRL Xfinity Series that's sitting up here in the booth that you're going to talk about, hopefully, finishing dead last Dakota.
I am so ready to talk about you finishing dead last Dakota. I cannot wait.
But I tell you one thing. I'm going to make a guarantee right here on RSR.
Do it.
I am going to win a race in the Xfinity Series at PRL this year.
Ooh,
And
okay.
I am going to win. Whether it's Talladega, which might be my obvious choice, or Martinsville. That's my two best chances to potentially win a race. But I know my my number 3 Whataback Miracle Flow Chevy's going to run up front as much as I can.
Pace car down and in. It'll be 7 laps left to go. Under 5 minutes of racing left from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Green flag back in the air. Matt Danson with the jump. Agnovilla picks up second. Wetmore didn't get going from the 3rd line. He'll fall all the way back down to 5th before he's able to hook up with Landon Mills. And already going 3 wide down to the back straightaway. Harris caught in the middle. Michael Johnson shooting from the inside, but right as they try to get up to speed, Cody Harris still trying to see if he can't stop the bleeding summer, but finding the hole. A couple cars scrambling off a turn. Number 3 and 4. One car way down low. Remember the rule.
Oh no, they're wrecking behind.
Wrecking behind.
No, they kept it straight. They all kept it straight.
How did they keep it straight?
Oh my gosh, you're actually right. They somehow did.
That was a big wreck waiting to happen. Everybody got into each other. That pretty much eliminated their chance of winning back here in the back of the pack. But
oh my gosh, we just tried to go 4 wide into turn 3. That's never going to work.
What in the heck? You got people up here left, right, punting each other out of the way. I mean, it's 5 laps to go. And this is just the craziest racing we've seen all race long.
5 laps left to go. Agno Phillip trying to make a move on Matt Danson. Does he pull it out here? Does he try to wait a little bit longer and hang around until that final lap? Landon Mills going to be running it back in 3rd with Brandon Billy in 4th. The furthest driving the inside line, Brandon
Yellow is out.
Flag is out. I think that's green, white, checkered, and it's Richard Woodruff hard into the inside wall.
This is the weirdest looking wreck I've ever seen. I almost think he shifted. Or, wait, we'll see right here.
No, got loose. He got loose is what happened, and then the 2 kind of hooked him over because Woodruff lost momentum when they broke up, and there was nowhere for Neander to go.
Huh, the 2 blinked on my screen right as that happened, so it looked like something he just shifted down for some reason and made it right. I was really confused.
I think that explains it a little bit more.
A little bit.
So who wins?
Well, with only 3 laps left to go and lights still on, this is going to be now a 2-lap dash. How many times have we seen races this season come down to green, white, checkered finishes, and we're going to get set to take off with another one here from Atlanta?
Who's y'all's money on? I kind of don't want to bet against Landon Mills, but I'd also like to see Matt Danson win the race. But I think the 26 is aggressive enough to make this move happen.
This is going to be like Mr. Captain Obvious and all that, but I don't think anybody's beating the top 2. They have been the fastest all race long. I think Phillip has spent way too much time pushing instead of trying to take the lead. Matt Danson has shown his speed and shown his confidence, his comfort, getting pushed and being in the lead. I really think it's between those 2.
4-time who you got?
I like Landon Mills. He's got that bottom line. They really took off good last time. I think he's going to shove Matt Danson, and then the last lap into 3, try to make a move and get him. I think Mills gets it done.
Take that, Dylan. I got 4-time up there agreeing with me in that 26.
Listen. I don't care.
Nolan, who you got?
Oh, as much as I want to go Matt Danson, the one place you don't want to be on a plate track or the green-white checkered is in the lead. I'm going to go with Landon Mills.
Aha! It's 3 against 1, Dylan.
If this goes Danson or Phillip, what do y'all owe me?
Ice cream sandwich.
An ice cream sandwich!
I'll give you.
I owe you that podcast, finally.
You do. We all do. But I keep forgetting, and then you keep forgetting, and then, you know, then we get tired.
I'll give you the laughter of a small child.
Okay. Lights are off on the pace car.
Oh.
I feel like I've been scarred from this broadcast listening to you two.
Chaos personified.
This is why we're not on broadcast together.
This is what happens whenever Evan just leaves the booth, honestly.
Pasoko who?
Oh, boy.
Papa Pasoko.
Papa Pasoko who?
Attempt number 1 in the green-white checker. We have a total of 3. If we make it to the white flag, race will finish no matter what. Otherwise, if a caution comes out before that white flag, we reset and try it again. 3 miles, or just over 3 miles of racing left to go. Will they make it around to the white flag? It's gonna be a bit of an ask, given that it's Atlanta. But these guys, they tend to only use 1 attempt, and then will be usually smooth sailing, so we'll hope that they save all the big wrecking that we know is inevitable to the final lap. Pace cars down and in. Matt Danson trying to see if he can't jump Phillip on the restart. As Electric the Geico restarts. So once again, green flag up in the air.
Too big of a jump for Danson, honestly. You want to have someone pushing you right behind. He's going to get swallowed up by this pack.
Yeah. Not too sure here because now Agnew Phillip has nowhere to go. He'll get the shot in the corner, but the 9.
Oh, they're 3 wide.
Winemaster come from? Jaron Winemaster's pushing the 26 of Landon Mills.
Look at Kato.
Oh, Kato, go get it, son.
Side by side for the race lead. Landon Mills pulling even with Matt Danson. They bubble up at 4. White flag in the air. We make it back. They go 4 wide. And we're going to cruise it down to turn number 1. Big wreck in turns 1 and 2 as the back portion of the field is going to completely demolish themselves. But a drag race still down the back straightaway up in front. Danson hanging on. Phillip trying to see if he can't make the run for second. Mills with the bottom. Does the 851 Pro Chevy have what it takes to make a move up at 4? Coming out of the final corner down to start finish line. Got to make the move here to the inside. Drag race, and it's going to be Danson hanging on for the race win by just 2/100ths of a second.
I hate it when Dylan's right.
What an amazing finish, though. Oh, my goodness. That was some good, hard racing, and this is what happens when you don't have to throw yellow for safety reasons on the final lap.
That bottom lane just evaporated there. They had a little bit of contact, which was able to let that outside lane with Matt Danson and Agnew Phillip pushing there. That's what got it done for Matt Danson today.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of Dylan being right, but Matt needed this win. I don't normally stress the early part of a season as much as I will for Matt Danson. He has just had some stupid bad luck.
Please tell me.
He's been wrecked in almost every single race, and coming into an off week for RSR competition before we go to Richmond, this win, it just rings a bell that not only is he good at road courses, which we got plenty of those this season, well, he can win a plate track too. Super Speedway mile and a half, call it both. He gets it done, and this was perfect timing because playoffs are ringing for the 38 of the Logitech G Altus team.
He dedicated that race to someone.
To me, hopefully.
Look at the chat.
Oh boy.
I'm not that smart. I can't read and do this at the same time.
Nolan,
Yes,
did you see it?
I have not.
I dedicate this to Jeremy Miller.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
savage. That's
Oh,
savage. That's so
Oh my goodness, that is playing with fire. That is playing with fire and then some. We'll take a look to the official post-race results as the flames will shoot off just like the rubber on Dance's tires after that burn down. Danson taking the win by 28,000 of a second over Agno Phillip. Brandon Billy rounding out the podium. We'll talk to all of them in just a few moments. Landon Mills back and forth with Jared Wymister in 5th. Cody Harris was 6th with Michael Laright in 7th. Bradley Berg was 8th. Brayden Whitaker and Russ Cato Dillon round out your top 10.
Steve Durham, we're just cracking it up here. Steve Durham in 11th with Michael Johnson, Tom Wetmore, Grant Davis, and Nick Mara from the top 15. Esteban Rodriguez, Eric Pepinall, Sean Caisto, Paul Bergoli, and Joey Tice, your top 20.
Still fantastic. Go back to 21st. David Kolb, Andrew 5th, Richard Wolfsire, Carl Pooler, my pick, didn't get it done here on 24th. Brandon Fetter place. This is your one life down people. You see the screen. Steve Tucker, Matt Mara, Brian Dixon, Nue Flores, and Sean Kalist rounds out your top 30.
And that just leaves then the 31st place drivers as we're now into the drivers that did not finish this race with Willie Schmidt in 31st. Then comes Gregory Shaw, Manatsa Major, Richard Woodruff, Sam Nieto, Alexander Light, Ryan Dunkelberger, Thomas George, Michael Kaczynski, Tom Morano, Spencer Kostowitz, and Jason Staney. Round us out here tonight for your 42-car grid from what has been an absolutely incredible race here for the Save 10% Velocita-USA.com 200. We'll see if we can talk to some of your race winners here tonight, and we'll start it on off with the man of the hour and the one that is, shall we say, tempting fate a little bit with words in the chat. Matt Danson joins us up here from Victory Lane. And my goodness, Matt, what a win for you. Just barely stayed ahead of Phillip as you ran it down to the line.
Yeah, it's about time. I feel like we've had good speed, every single race. Like we've been in contention every single event. We just haven't come away with the result. I think Agnell is borrowed the golden horseshoe from Drew. So obviously Drew took it back last week, but so I was, having a bit of a joke with Agnell that he's probably I'll end up 30th. Something will happen. I'll end up 30th, and he's going to come through for the win. But it was really, really good for us to get the 1-2 for our little joint venture with myself, Agnell, and Cody. I think he battled back. He got wrecked, but awesome result.
So with that all said and done, this race win is going to lock you in then for your position in the playoffs when we get down to the fall here in 2023. Does that change at all then your mentality throughout the majority of the season, knowing that all you have to do essentially is now just show up and you'll be good to go?
No. I mean, we rock up to win every week. There's sort of still a bit of it, even though I got the 2 over wins last year. There's still the chip on my shoulder in terms of showing that I don't just road course. I want to get as many as I can. Agnell's up there every week. It's a pleasure to race him. Cody's a superstar, and there's a bunch of really good guys to race with up front. A couple of turkeys that do whatever they do. I'll be going for it every week. Don't worry.
Who's this race dedicated to?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I was going to get around to that in my dedications at the end, but I have to dedicate this to Jeremy. I'm sure he's sitting watching this race, cheering me on. Shout out Jeremy. Good stuff.
The shade.
Oh my goodness. Well, Matt, as always, it's a pleasure to be able to talk to you up here in the booth. You got yourself locked in. You've dedicated this win to somebody that I'm sure will be more than happy to congratulate you once you leave here today. Enjoy the off week now that you got yourself locked in. Best of luck in 2 weeks then at Richmond.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. Thank you.
Holy
I
Terry,
love
you
that.
had to do it. You just had to do it, didn't you? He was going to do it eventually, but I was kind of waiting. I was half waiting for that. Oh, boy. We'll move down to our second place.
Get fired?
No, you're not going to be fired. We love you too much for that. We're going to move it on down to our second place driver here. Agno Philadelphia, the 1 Pro Chevrolet, standing by with Dylan Coyle.
Well, that was fun. Agnel, you came so close. How does it feel?
Oh, it's never fun when you come super close and then don't make it. But we were Matt, Cody, and I throughout the whole race were just trying to race smart and kind of play the big picture, game through that race. And at the end of the day, I was trying to make sure that Matt and I finished 1-2. Hopefully it would have been the reverse order of what it was, but kind of measured out the moves a little bit differently in that situation, and kind of being in a kind of more locked in position, didn't really need to force the issue there. But it was a great race, and I think Matt and I, especially at the front, worked really well together, and Cody got a good finish out of it, so we'll take it.
I noticed most of the race, you were the pusher. You were not the push-E. You were not benefiting from really any pushes out in front. Do you wish you spent a little bit more time out in front? Maybe things would have been differently?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, like, the situation would have probably just been, if I had been in front, like, I would have been in the position Matt was in. Obviously, if everything plays out the exact same way, then I end up winning the race, but there's no telling that's how that would have worked out. I don't know if Matt's behind me on that last lap, kind of staying committed in the way that I was. I don't know where the moves are coming from. So at this style of racing, there's not really a huge benefit to leading. I think the main thing that we wanted to do all race was just maintain the track position and stay in front of the wreck, so that we were in that top 4 or 5 at the end, and we were. I mean, I honestly think, as far as the way the race played out, I really don't know that it could have gone any better. Like, I think it went according to plan, start to finish. If I have to be the pusher for that to work, then that's what it is.
All right. Well, enjoy your weekend off, and I think there's some tea that you might have missed right before you got here. So maybe rewind the broadcast, get some entertainment from that.
Yeah, I heard him ramping up to deliver that. I'm sure that'll just play out completely smoothly over the next
Richmond
month. But yeah, fun stuff.
Can't wait for Richmond. All right, best of luck, Agnel. And Terry, gonna send it over to you.
Yeah, I got that 23 of Brandon Bowie, and well, you did the sponsor proud. You got a ton of TV time early in the race. You led a bunch of laps. You were in position to win the dang thing at the end. That Camry looked good up front. When are we going to see the Michael Jordan number go in victory lane this season?
Yeah, it was honestly, man, it's just trying to survive. I mean, for me, that's what these super speedway races is all about. Trying to be there at the end, make sure you stay out of trouble, keep the car clean, and give yourself a chance. So, like you said, ran up front. I felt pretty competitive. Then I got to a point where it was starting to get tight. So, kind of wasn't expecting that, but kind of started to back it down, take it easy. Pitting there, I did not expect a green flag pit stop, and be honest with you, I was looking for none of that. And that kind of worked out. Me and Michael Johnson were able to work our way back up, catch them. Cautions came out there at the end, didn't need that, but that's part of super speedway racing. But it overall it was pretty good race.
Well, with the 23 number, and the paint scheme, it's kind of reminiscent maybe of the Wiz Khalifa Miley Cyrus song 23. Could we potentially see that on the car at some point this season, where we throw the Jordan thing out there with maybe a little Wiz Khalifa, maybe a little Miley Cyrus in the club, high on pert with some shades on, a tatted up mini skirt with my J's on?
Probably. That's probably a not. Not this time. But I do. Go ahead.
Any chance I get to throw a Miley Cyrus reference?
Hey, I've heard you plenty of times in the booth call it, so I know Miley Cyrus is that's your girl. So I get it. Got to give props to her every time.
That's all I got. It's all is her and Taylor. It will Reba too. Maybe if you throw a Reba scheme out there, I'll be for it. But what track can I see that 23 in Victory Lane at this season?
Well, we know for sure it definitely won't be it definitely won't be next week at Coda. I think Danson probably has that locked down.
Well, we don't race next week. We're off. We don't come back to Richmond. We're off for Coda.
Really? Did I miss?
No road course for a while here. I think our first road course, I believe, is the street circuit at Chicago.
He'll probably win that too. I don't have no chance there. But no, you I'm glad you told me that. I honestly didn't know that. Actually,
you'd have been the only one on the racetrack.
Yes,
you would have been here.
I would have been the only one practicing for the next week, and then come to show up. Where everybody at? Hey, no, we off this week. Dude, like nobody told me that. Like, come on. But I'm really good on like the bigger tracks, Auto Club, which unfortunately we don't run anymore, but Michigan, Kansas, some of the bigger tracks that kind of take momentum seem to work in my favor. So yeah, probably that. I mean, a little Richmond is I'm pretty good with Richmond, so there's a possibility there, but I think Agno is a little bit better on the short tracks. So I don't know, and we'll see. But I got the definitely the bigger tracks that require momentum. Michigan, Kansas, stuff like that. I got that circle for sure.
Well, thank the sponsor of your car and the sponsor of the broadcast here this afternoon, so Nolan doesn't have to do it at the end.
Yes, thank you. Got to give a shout out to Velocita for coming on board. We got to thank Sean Casto. I mean, he kind of put out this whole deal together. So if you go on there, check them out. Got some great outerwear that you can put on, racing suits and stuff, gloves, stuff like that. So use discount shop 10% Velocita at velocita-usa.com. Definitely gotta give a thanks to you guys. You guys, as always, put on a hell of a broadcast. Literally, I will watch it tomorrow on big screen TV, watch it in 4K because it's one of the best to watch it on big screen TV like that. So gotta thank Battle Beaver, Williams Automotive, keeping it real. Wow. Bowie Sports, Boosted, and family, and that's about it.
Well, I appreciate you. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks at Richmond. Please do not show up next week at Coda. You'll be the only one here because we're taking a Monday off. No, right. That's Brandon Bowie in that 23.
And that is going to be a wrap then for the driver interviews for tonight. What a race we have had so far here in this one. And, well, Terry, I'll come to you first since you love stirring that pot. I can tell you that much, and I love you for it. We take that 1 week break, right, and we get down to Richmond. We focus on Danson. Miller's going to be back from his suspension, but he will still have, of course, 10 races of probation. Do things escalate with it being a short track between them, or do we see things potentially start to die down between Danson and the XPM camp?
I can't believe you asked him that.
That's a horrible question to ask me because I don't care if I'm on suspension or not. Oops, I opened the corner. Right?
That's why I asked you.
Think back of Richmond. Think back of what happened here. What was it, 2009? Dale Jr. gets wrecked by Kyle Busch in the spring, goes to the fall. Jr. plans it in his head, locks the tire up going in turns 3 and 4.
Whoops.
And whoops, Kyle Busch is in the wall. But then Kyle Busch comes back to almost win the race, and he finishes in the top 5, and Junior didn't win that race. So, oops, if I'm Jeremy Miller, because if I heard a driver come into the booth after they just won a race and said, I want to dedicate this one to I want to dedicate this one to the guy that tried to wreck me last week and cost me a win, and I'm going to a short track, I'm punting his ass, and it's turn 1, turn 4. I don't care. He's getting punted somewhere on that racetrack. That's going to be interesting to see.
And Dylan, we talk about Richmond as a whole, right? It is a racetrack where passing can be so difficult. Far from the easiest track to make moves at. You often have to use that chrome horn or rely on getting good runs. It is a momentum-based racetrack. What's your take as we get set to swing on down to Virginia?
I always, and of course, coming from me, it doesn't really speak that much. It's more from 4-time that I would be interested. But coming from me, I always found it difficult to try and get any momentum going around the outside at all at Richmond. Like you're saying, you kind of have to use that chrome horn. You got to move the guys out of the way. And tire wear becomes a big factor there. The surface is not that new. Depending on the temperature in the sim, it could melt the tires pretty quickly. So we don't exactly know how it's going to be. It could end up being a little bit of a one-lane show, but I'm hoping that we're going to see some fireworks.
And well, with that, it is time for us to close here from virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. What a night we have had, where once again, another different winner. Matt Danson finally takes his first win of the season here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. My name is Little Rempo with Dylan Coyle and Terry Radford signing the broadcast booth. Special thanks again to Andrew Freenage, acting as driver analyst for us here for tonight's presentation, and as well for our producer Joshua Lee, doing a great job as always behind the cameras. You've been watching the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series live on RaceSpotTV. We'll see you all same time next week, same time, same place, 2 weeks from now. We get set to go racing in Virginia.